Gee, thanks for that very thorough answer, Professor McKenzie. Well, we have a number of other questions. Are your dogs okay? Yeah. Aye, I think they are. Aye. Aye. I think they're all right. Yeah, I think so. Aye, they look comfortable, don't they? You're comfortable, boys? Aye. Lovely, lovely. Yes, great. Aye. Okay, so perhaps you could tell us a little bit more about DURTII Robot, the song that led to be studied so much and was such an influence on people in the late second millennia. Aye, lad, aye, if that's what you're interested in, I certainly can tell you a bit more about that. Well, you know, DURTII Robot, the lyrics were seen as, you know, absolute brilliance by some. You know, these lads were heralded as like Shakespeare, you know, who were really popular. In these times, he was seen as a bit of a genius. Of course, those who have travelled back realise he was a bit of a numpty. Well, funnily enough, these lads, Robot Radio, certainly aren't geniuses. I mean, they're not even, well, I mean, you know, for humans they're not too bad, but they're not bright. They're not bright. Let's be honest. They're a bit dim. I think dim is probably nicest word. Nice bunch, you know, nice bunch, but yeah, a bit dim. Anyway, by whatever circumstances it was, and some say perhaps they were influenced by time travellers who came back and had a bit of a whisper in their ears, you know. It's a possibility. We can't totally deny it, but yeah, there was a lot of insightful predictions and prophecies in that DURTII Robot. So, for example, they said, forget the frustrations of human relations, which of course predicted and prophesied the end of human relationships, and of course led to the significant undermining of the species and the significant undermining of the communities that the people lived in. You know, they stopped interacting with each other and they started well, interacting with robots and all sorts of stuff, mostly online, you know, in a virtual world. So, you know, they didn't, yeah, and these lads, you know, these, well, let's face it, simpletons, Robot Radio, predicted so much about the future that, yeah, they were heralded as, you know, Shakespeare-like geniuses, and, yeah, led to all sorts of, well, strange beliefs by people. And the second song, of course, Listen to the Radio, itself thought to be, by many academics like myself, a simple exploration of the desperation of human loneliness and their prevalence, their predilection, their preference for simple answers. So, you know, such as somebody saying to a lonely person, an isolated person, why don't you listen to the radio? Well, of course, that's no good, is it? You know, they needed, just as we do, they needed the company of other human beings, you know, strangely enough. But, yeah, it was at the time, we believe, those academics like myself, they believe it were a protest about yeah, the human condition, the increasing isolation of people and the desperation to be heard and to be listened to. Of course, as time went on, and in the late second millennium, you know, people started to believe that it were about how would you say it were about it was about listen to Robot Radio, listen to the prophecies of Robot Radio and prevent human armageddon and the apocalypse. So, you know, it gained a lot of what's the word? You know, well, you know, of course, the robot radicals, the believers, the cult people, you will be arguing me now, saying, you know, how could I possibly deny? They'll be calling me a heretic. They may be, you know, plotting me downfall. They may be sending assassins now to try and do me away. But you know, the dominant timeline just says that they were misinterpreted and given more credence than they really truly deserved. But you've got to admit, they're good tunes, you know, and worth a listen to. I think so, worth a listen to. We still listen to them now, aye, in the study group. You know, of course, there's a lot of bands from this particular period that we listen to a lot. You know, Flying Ant Day, Humdrum Express. But yeah, these lads, by somehow or other. Obviously, not as much influence as Flying Ant Day, but that's a whole other story. But they certainly had an influence, you know, on the future. And that's what we're talking about, isn't it, today? Well, thank you very much, Professor McKenzie. That was very thorough. Let me just check with my editor if there's anything else we need to ask you. But for now, thank you very much, Professor McKenzie. If you'd like to take a break, there's some dog biscuits over there on the grass. All right, lovely. Thanks, lad. Thanks very much. That's great. Lovely, smashing.